Kamala Harris got an opportunity to stand on stage and do what she likes to do best, and that is call Donald Trump a fascist.
Donald Trump at the lead.
You've quoted General Milley calling Donald Trump a fascist. You yourself have not used that word to describe him. Let me ask you tonight, do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And I also believe that the people who invest on this subject should be trusted. Again, look at their careers. These are not people, with the exception, I think, of only Mike Pence. These were not politicians.
Wait, Mike Pence.
These are career people.
Mike Pence was the governor of Indiana. So I don't know. I don't know if she just didn't know that or what, or if it slipped her mind. Who knows? You know, you never know what's going on up there in Word Salad City, which, by the way, is not my word. We'll get to that here in just a minute. But Kamala Harris stands on there and goes, yeah, Donald Trump is a fascist. The next question would have been, could you spell fascist? Because I guarantee she can't. But that was the beginning. That was it. That was her one shining moment. That was her one free pass from Anderson Cooper and CNN. Because after that, he launched right into her least favorite topic of all. Kamala Harris's least favorite topic, the border. And before we get to Kamala Harris getting railroaded by CNN at a live town hall by Anderson Cooper, I would like to take a moment to say, please subscribe to this channel, share this content. If you like what you hear so far and you're excited about what's coming up, just hit the subscribe button, notifications, the thumb up, whatever you can click that's positive. Don't click the negative crap. Just click the positive stuff. Whatever you can click on that's really positive, that's going to continue to bring you this content every single day, do that right now. If you want to share this with somebody, we urge you to do that at this point, at this juncture in the program. And then, of course, if you're listening to the podcast, absolutely make sure that iTunes and Spotify, make sure they all know that you love what you're hearing and you want to hear more of it, because we bring you more Kaye Saves the Republic all the time. And coming up, we have great opportunities too. We're at Lago yesterday. I was invited for the world premiere of Line in the Sand, the new movie from Tucker Carlson and James O'Keefe. And we interviewed a bunch of people, including James O'Keefe, on the red carpet. We'll bring you all of those interviews here in just a minute. But first, we got to get back to the terrible, horrible, no good, very bad town hall that Kamala Harris had yesterday with Anderson Cooper. All right, so when you're Kamala Harris, you want to talk about things that you want to talk about, like abortion. And I guess that's pretty much it. You want to stray away from things like the economy, Joe Biden's policies, and the border. Anderson Cooper thought it was important to talk about all three of those things, starting with the border and Kamala Harris's flip-flopping record on border security and policy.
I mean, you did raise your hand saying in a debate when asked if border crossings should be decriminalized, but obviously that is not your position.
I never intended, nor will I ever allow America to have a border that is not secure. I believe we need to deal with illegal immigration. There needs to be consequences, which is why part of my plan that I have outlined, and again, please go to KamalaHarris.com. Sorry to throw a website on you, but why not? And you will see that part of my plan includes what we need to do to actually do more as it relates to putting resources in, including increasing penalties.
You know, I would, I'm sorry to throw a website on you, but why not? That basically sums up her entire campaign. Not please donate, please help us fight. It's look, here's my website. Why not go there? You know, why not? You got nothing else to do. Go to my website, donate some money, try to help me save this sinking ship. Help me bail some of the water out of this, flagging campaign that we've got going on. And it just went downhill from then. Anderson Cooper said, okay, so you raised your hand at the debate saying that you should decriminalize border crossings. Now you're not so sure. What about the border wall? Where do you stand on that? Because remember, you said it was a bad thing.
Under Donald Trump, you criticized the wall more than 50 times. You called it stupid, useless, and a medieval vanity project. Is a border wall stupid?
Well, let's talk about Donald Trump and that border wall. So remember, Donald Trump said Mexico would pay for it? Come on, they didn't. How much of that wall did he build? I think the last number I saw was about 2%. And then when it came time for him to do a photo op, you know where he did it? In the part of the wall that President Obama built.
But you're agreeing to a bill that would earmark $650 million to continue building that wall.
I pledge that I am going to bring forward that bipartisan bill to further strengthen and secure our border. Yes, I am. And I'm going to work across the aisle to pass a comprehensive bill that deals with a broken immigration system. I think Jackson's question, part of it was to acknowledge that America has always had migration, but there needs to be a legal process for it. People have to earn it. And that's the point that I think is the most important point that can be made, which is we need a president who is grounded in common sense and practical outcomes. Like, let's just fix this thing. Let's just fix it. Why is there any ideological perspective on this? Let's just fix the problem.
To fix the problem, you're doing this compromise bill. It does call for $650 million that was earmarked under Trump to actually still go to build the wall.
I am not afraid of good ideas where they occur.
So you don't think it's stupid anymore?
I think what he did and how he did it did not make much sense because he actually didn't do much of anything. I just talked about that wall, right? We just talked about it. He didn't actually do much of anything.
But you do want to build some wall.
I want to strengthen our border.
I mean, who had Anderson Cooper stabbing Kamala Harris in the back like she was Julius Caesar and he was Brutus in William Shakespeare's, well, Julius. I mean, who had that on their bingo card? Who had Anderson Cooper pushing back on Kamala Harris's ridiculous claims about the wall, about border security? My favorite part, by the way, is when she goes, you know what? Let's just fix it. Let's just fix it. I don't want you know what the solution is? Let's just fix it. All right, lady. Well, how do you propose to do that? Because you said a border wall was a medieval vanity project. Now you're saying that you're going to pass a bill that includes funding for the border wall. Are you for the border wall? And she looks at Anderson Cooper, totally awestruck and lost. Like, dude, what are you doing? You are a paid operative. You are supposed to be helping me. You are on this stage as a representative of the Democrat Party. You hate Donald Trump. Your job is to make me look good, not ask me actual policy questions that you know I don't know the answers to, not press me on what I used to say, not burden me by what has been. You are supposed to unburden me from what I have said in the past. And Anderson Cooper is failing miserably at that task because for some reason, Anderson Cooper decided to wake up and become a journalist today. Well, congratulations, Anderson Cooper. Welcome to, credible news reporting. Welcome to actually being a journalist like, your family always wanted you to. Actually, I don't think his family wanted him to. I think his family wanted him to be a banker or something. I mean, he's a Vanderbilt, for crying out loud. He's richer than pretty much anybody. But Kamala Harris has absolutely, she gets into this thing and you can hear it there. She's just talking and she even gets lost herself. She had an answer in mind. She tried to talk him. She tried to get there. She's like, here's where I want to go. And she starts to meander around. Eventually, she forgot her destination. She just started yelling, let's fix it, let's fix it. And that wasn't the only thing. That wasn't the only time that happened. Listen to this. Listen to this. This is one of my favorite answers of all time.
Some voters, though, might ask, you've been in the White House for 4 years. You were vice president, not the president. But why wasn't any of that done the last 4 years?
Well, there was a lot that was done, but there's more to do, Anderson. And I'm pointing out things that need to be done, that haven't been done, but need to be done.
Did you follow all that? Did everyone follow that? There's a lot to be done, but there's more to do, Anderson. And I'm pointing out things that haven't been done, that need to be done, that haven't been done. I mean, it's a tongue twister. She's writing a Dr. Seuss novel or a Dr. Seuss book right in front of our own eyes.
Well, there was a lot that was done, but there's more to do, Anderson. And I'm pointing out things that need to be done, that haven't been done, but need to be done.
I mean, I feel like I'm listening to Willy Wonka. I mean, it's like Tigger. The wonderful thing about Tiggers, there's lots of stuff to do. And poor Anderson Cooper, again, is standing there going, I can't believe that this is the best the Democrats have. I can't believe that this is the best person my party has put forward. I can't believe they think that Joe Biden was a detriment and that Kamala Harris is an asset. I mean, David Axelrod, another prominent Democrat talking head on CNN, he basically used what the Republicans have been, the terminology the Republicans have been using for years now. He used our words to describe his candidate. Listen to this.
When she doesn't want to answer a question, her habit is to kind of go to word salad city. And she did that on a couple of answers. One was on Israel. Anderson asked a direct question, would you be stronger on Israel than Trump? And there was a 7-minute answer, but none of it related to the question he was asking.
Oh, look at that. Word salad city. I love that. Word salad city. Population Kamala Harris. Hello, I'm the mayor of Word Salad City. Listen, when she's no longer vice president or a senator, and when she's definitely not president of the United States, she can go be mayor of Word Salad City. I mean, that's a Democrat. That's David Axelrod, a Democrat strategist on a Democrat network describing the Democrat candidate for president.
When she doesn't want to answer a question, her habit is to kind of go to Word Salad City. And
won't you take me to Word Salad City? Won't you? That doesn't work as much as Funky Town, but you get the whole. You get the. You get the idea. Kamala Harris she's so bad. It's going so horribly for her that there are. I mean, and we'll get to the CNN panel in a minute, but there wasn't one positive report on the network that hosted us. Not one positive report. Not one CNN reporter said, you know what, Kamala Harris, bang up job. Great job, girl. You go, girl. You killed it. You came in, you made your case, you answered the questions, you showed everybody why you should be president and not that fascist, Hitler-loving Donald Trump guy. You showed everyone why you have the intelligence and the experience and the know-how and the personality and the wherewithal to become the next commander-in-chief. You really nailed it. You really nailed it. In fact, every time she opened her mouth, she said more and more things that were just crazy. She actually said this on national television in a town hall meeting where she's trying to convince people that she should be the commander-in-chief of the United States of America. Listen.
So I may not be quick to have the answer as soon as you ask it about a specific policy issue sometimes, because I'm going to want to research it. I'm going to want to study it. I'm kind of a nerd sometimes, I confess.
That nervous laugh came out a lot, but she's saying, look, I may not have that knowledge, that I may not be able to make that decision. I may not have the answer. I may not be able to think quickly on my feet because, who wants a president who's able to make decisions quickly in a time of crisis? Who wants a president who's able to know the policy and pick it out of their brain and say, oh, this is exactly what we need to do here. This is the problem we have. This is the solution. You don't want that. You want somebody who, needs to go back and study a little bit. I don't feel like you can study. I don't feel like it's an on-the-job kind of training thing. But Kamala Harris just wants you to know, look, I'm the best person for the job. I may not know how to do it, but I'm the best person for it.
So I may not be quick to have the answer as soon as you ask it about a specific policy issue sometimes, because I'm going to want to research it. I'm going to want to study it. I'm kind of a nerd sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's an insult to nerds. By the way, I feel like nerds everywhere were like, don't drag us into this. That's not what nerds are, lady. And we don't appreciate being compared to you. Anderson Cooper did throw a couple of interesting questions at her. One was, I don't know, it's almost like how like when you apply for a job and they have those weird questions. One of them was like, what's a mistake you've made and learned from? In fact, there was a meme going around. I think Trump shared it a couple times, or the Team Trump shared it, the War Room, and they compared Michael Scott from The Office to Kamala Harris in this particular interview. But he asked her this one question about, it's when pick a mistake. It's almost like a college application essay. Pick a mistake and tell us what you learned from it. Listen to what Kamala Harris. She tried to make a joke, by the way. The nervous laughter came back a lot. Nobody was laughing.
Is there something you can point to in your life, political life, or in your life in the last 4 years that you think is a mistake that you have learned from?
I mean, I've made many mistakes, and they range from, if you've ever parented a child, you make lots of mistakes too. In my role as vice president, I mean, I've probably worked very hard at making sure that I am well versed on issues, and I think that is very important. It's a mistake not to be well versed on an issue and feel compelled to answer a question.
Wait a minute. Hold on. I'm totally confused now. I'm totally confused. She said moments ago that she doesn't always have the answers and she needs to study. Now she's saying, oh, you know what? I've learned to be well versed on the answers. I'm well versed. That's not what you said a moment ago. In fact, you just said the exact opposite.
So I may not be quick to have the answer as soon as you ask it about a specific policy issue sometimes, because I'm going to want to research it. I'm going to want to study.
Very few people are able to be this hypocritical in such a short period of time. Very few people are able to counteract themselves. the way that Kamala Harris is counteracting herself in this town hall. It's really interesting and fun to watch. And also the way that Anderson Cooper gives her no rope. I mean, she made that joke about parenting. Well, anyone who's been a parent knows you make a lot of mistakes. And she looked at Anderson and he was a statue. He's like, lady, we are 2 weeks out. You wanted this job and you have proven to nobody that you can handle it. You wanted to step up. You wanted to fill Joe Biden's orthopedic shoes. Well, you did it. You're here and you're not giving us anything. You're not giving me any help. I'm not giving you any help. This is not the time to yuck it up. This is not the time to make jokes about your parenting skills or call yourself a nerd. This is serious business. We are facing multiple wars, an economic collapse. We've got a border that's out of control. Crime's running rampant. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Human trafficking is just the new big problem that we've seen here in the United States of America. Drugs. It's hard. What are you going to do about it? We don't want to know about your parenting mistakes. We want to know how you're going to fix it. And she has no actual real solution. She has no solutions whatsoever. And the solutions she has are, what's the word I'm looking for? Stupid, dumb, not even going to solve the problem. She's coming up with solutions to problems that don't even exist. And the biggest example we've seen of that over and over and over again, which she brought up again yesterday, was price gouging. Because keep in mind, this was a town hall. Kamala Harris was at a town hall. She took questions from Anderson Cooper. She struggled and almost drowned immediately. And then she had to take questions from the audience. And one of them was a question about the prices being sky high. Why are the prices so sky high? Why are grocery stores? I can't afford groceries. I can't afford rent. I can't afford diapers. I can't afford anything. Why is that, Madam Vice President? You know what her answer is? Price gouging. And Anderson Cooper wouldn't let her get away. He's like, can you please explain how price gouging raises the price of pretty much everything? Price gouging typically would raise the price of one thing during a specific time, but everything is higher. How do you explain that? Here's what she said.
Let me just ask you about price gouging. I looked at your plan. You talk about going after price gougers, and I'm quoting from the plan, on essential goods during emergencies or times of crisis. I get that. How does that help, though, someone like Eric with prices that for years the grocery prices just been high?
Well, first of all, Anderson, as you know, and obviously CNN has been covering extensively what has been happening in the state of Georgia, North Carolina, Florida. It's a real issue. I was Attorney General of California. I was the top law enforcement officer of the biggest state in the country. I took this issue on because it affects a lot of people. And I'm not going to apologize for the fact that we need to actually deal with accountability when these, not all, in fact, most don't, but when companies are taking advantage of the desperation and the need of the American people. We saw it actually during the pandemic as well, where because of supply chain issues, there was a reduction of supply, and then they would inflate the price of everyday necessities.
Okay, so for 3.5 years, gas prices have been up. They've been up over Donald Trump. The lowest price of gas we had was $1.84. Now it's like $3.29. Prices of groceries are up. We went through the McDonald's prices the other day. They used to have a dollar menu. Now the cheapest thing you can get is $3.19. It's been an overall inflationary increase very rapidly, by the way, after Donald Trump left office and Joe Biden came into office and undid all of his policies. And when you ask Kamala Harris, why is that? She says hurricanes. Hurricane Milton and Hurricane Helene, which happened in the last month. In the last 4 weeks, we had 2 hurricanes. Kamala Harris is blaming them for all of the increases in prices over the last 3.5 years. And then she says, there's companies out there, not many, most don't. Okay, well, if there's not many companies and most companies don't price gouge, why is the price of everything high all the time? It's a dumb answer. It's a non-answer. It shows again that she has no policy initiatives and that she has no plan to fix the economy, except to go after the very few companies that price gouge whenever there's an emergency. This is a woman who is basically proving to everybody on live television that she has no clue what she's doing. And she never did. And the people that are advising her or helping her, the people she surrounds herself with, are equally idiotic. I mean, look, Bill Clinton, for whatever, he was a lech. He was a sex fiend. He was a hound dog. I don't know. He was just a sex maniac, whatever you want to call it. He was pathological sociopath. There's so many things wrong with Bill Clinton, but he had good people around him who helped him navigate all of the things that he needed to navigate. They helped him make the decisions he needed to make. George W. Bush. A lot of people don't think George W. Bush maybe had the highest IQ. I mean, he went to Yale and all that. But the fact of the matter is he surrounded himself with people who he trusted and who he liked and who did the job. Donald Trump tried his best to do that, but he kept firing everybody because he didn't trust or like anyone. And they all kept leaking information from the White House. Kamala Harris has nobody around her who's helping her. If anything, they're trying to torpedo her career as well. They're trying to get her out of there because they don't trust her to be president. And I'm going to be honest with you, after this whole thing, I would be shocked, or I wouldn't be shocked if Kamala Harris watches this town hall back and goes, you know what? Maybe I should be voting for Donald Trump too. I just don't think I can hack it. I just don't think I can hack it. Dana Bash didn't think this is Dana Bash right after the debate on CNN.
Well, I'll just tell you what I'm hearing from people who I have been talking to, and that is that if her goal was to close the deal, they're not sure she did that. And, you know, some people have asked, is she being held to a different standard? Maybe, but that's maybe the world that she's living in. And on the question of who she is, people are understanding that a little bit more. But what she will do, the question about her legislative priorities, name one, there wasn't one. You know, some more of her personality and her sort of character questions about your weaknesses or what mistakes did you make? Not necessarily the answers there.
Jake Tapper was also a little critical of Kamala Harris. And by a little, I mean as critical as he's allowed to be being a CNN network anchor. Here's what he said.
Focused a lot more on Donald Trump, I think it's fair to say, than she did on many specifics in terms of what she would do as president. But she did go into some of her plans for small businesses and the like.
Okay, they talked about immigration, they talked about crime, they talked about the border, they talked about economy, and Jake Tapper said she didn't really offer any substantive agenda items or plans moving forward. She did talk about small businesses. That's the least of our problems right now. That's a problem, but that's the least of our problems. That's the only piece of actual legislative terminology or legislative, foresight they could find from that entire CNN town hall. This is reminiscent to me of how they were speaking after Joe Biden's debate. The solemnity of the panel, the anger, or it is struggling. Dana Bash, Jake Tapper, these people are struggling to find any glimmer of hope in the Kamala Harris campaign. And really what they're doing is they're trying to be critical without being overly critical because they know they don't have anyone else on the bench. They already took out the starting quarterback. They replaced him with Kamala Harris, and they have nobody. They're going to have to get the punter in there who used to be a quarterback back in high school, but sucked, and that's why he's a punter now. That's who they're looking to. So they're doing their best to be somewhat honest, but also not critical enough where it totally destroys Kamala Harris's campaign, which is fine though, because she's basically destroyed her own campaign. This was David Urban, who is a Republican on the CNN panel, and listen to what he said.
Republicans would take another hour of Kamala Harris. We'd just press play, let her keep going. We'd pay for another hour to let her keep not answering the questions. I think Anderson's asking her, well, why haven't you done it? You've been there for 4 years. Why have you done any of this? And the word salad answer she gave to that was just mind-boggling. I mean, it's blown up the internet, her answer to that question. I think the things that are troubling for people were her responses to, Van said about what you're going to do to reduce costs when they asked her at the beginning. We're hurting economically. She said, I'm going to prosecute corporations, right? That's not going to lower costs. Oh. How are you going to make things better for me? I'm going to prosecute people. Trump bad is not a message that's going to get her elected. Trump bad message, I disagree with.
We all disagree. Nobody thinks the Trump bad message is going to work, especially since Donald Trump. It's so weird. As bad as Kamala Harris's campaign is going, Donald Trump's is going the exact other way. Every time Donald Trump goes out somewhere, he gets greeted with more enthusiasm, more excitement. There's more people out there praying over him. He was in Georgia, Duluth, Georgia, at the TPUSA event yesterday, and people, Riley Gaines and everyone else, stopped and prayed on Donald Trump. He said, "Dear Lord, please protect President Trump as we move forward. Give everyone around the country the good grace to vote for this man early. Get him back into office so that we could all be saved." And it seems to be working because, like I said, every single day there's more and more enthusiasm for President Donald Trump, and there's less and less enthusiasm for Kamala Harris. I don't know. I didn't know you could get less enthusiastic about Kamala Harris, but you absolutely can. And the reason is because Donald Trump has leadership. He has experience. He has strength. He has humility now. He has a lot of reverence, and he's got a real plan. And he can communicate it to people, and he works hard. He doesn't take days off. In fact, he mentioned Kamala Harris in his speech yesterday and talked about something which is very telling. You know, the words speak for themselves, but the actions always speak louder than words, and the inaction speaks the loudest.
So we are running against the most radical, most incompetent, most unfit vice president in the history of our country. No one respects her. No one trusts her. No one takes her seriously. This is a woman who took yesterday off. How do you take yesterday off? You got 13 days, you're running for the presidency, she takes her time off. I've gone 52 days in a row, and I'm not taking any days off, that I can tell you. No, but think of that. She's taking days off at levels not seen. I hear she's taking another one tomorrow or something. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. Maybe she knows something we don't know. That's bad, right? Maybe she knows something we don't know. Does everybody understand that? Maybe. She takes a day to study for a simple interview with an MSDNC reporter, but then makes a fool of herself with answers that are so crazy.
Donald Trump alluding there to by the way, to something. Why is Kamala Harris taking days off? Maybe she knows something we don't know. Does everybody get that? Does everybody understand? Think about it. Think about 2020. If you knew about 2020 and you saw what happened in 2020, would you kill yourself campaigning? Would you be like, you know what? I could probably take a day off or two because, right? 2020, right? I can take a day off. We're good to go. Donald Trump alluding to that at the TPUSA event yesterday. Look, it is all about the early vote. It is all about making this an overwhelming victory for Donald Trump. We already know that Maricopa County is going to take 10 to 13 days to count their ballots, which is ridiculous. We already know that Michigan and Pennsylvania and Georgia have claimed they're not going to be ready on election night, which is also ridiculous. We also know that there is a large movement of Democrats who are panicked, who are doing whatever it is they can to stop Donald Trump from winning. That's why they're pulling out John Kelly in these Hitler comments. That's why they're forcing Kamala Harris to go on CNN town halls, which was probably a dumb idea. They're not going to stop. There's new allegations coming out from Donald Trump, which are wholly unbelievable. And they're going to do this every single day. They're not going to give up until Election Day is over. And even then, if for some reason this doesn't happen to go their way, Kamala Harris admitted to us yesterday, she's got lawyers ready to go. She's got teams in position. She's got the finances and the assets ready to take on the Electoral College. She'll do whatever she needs to do to make sure that Donald Trump is in office. The Democrats will do whatever they need to do to make sure that Hitler does not return to the White House. That's what their priority is. And Donald Trump knows it, and the RNC knows it, and apparently the voters know it too, because get this, a lot of Republicans are going out and voting early. Listen to Dan Abrams with the latest results.
There's been massive record-breaking turnout already. 48% of early votes have been cast by Republicans, 46% by Democrats. Similarly, in North Carolina, a swing state still reeling from Hurricane Helene and seen as a must-win state for Trump, a record early voting turnout has seen 35% of registered Democrats vote, 34% of registered Republicans, 31% unaffiliated. And there are danger signs for Harris, particularly in Nevada, where voter turnout among registered Republicans has been nearly double that of registered Democrats so far, something longtime observers there say is nearly unprecedented. So on the whole, let's try and make sense of this, right? Who should take these early voting numbers as a better sign, particularly in the key battleground states? Let's ask Justin Whalen, prominent pollster and CEO of Whalen Opinion Research. Justin, welcome back. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. So big picture, what does this early voting data tell us?
Well, it tells us a little bit more than what we see in the national polls, of course, because those are frustrating. It's absolutely a tie statistically between the candidates, and it's a tie statistically between the candidates in the polls within the battleground states. But with early voting going on, as you noted, some 18 million votes cast, there are distinct differences between what's going on this cycle than what went on in the last cycle or cycles before it.
Oh, look at that. That's where you really get it. That's where it really gets interesting. What they're saying once again is when you look at the national polls, the national polls hold no water. They hold no merit. There's no reason for them. A national poll just tells you who's going to win the popular vote. And as the Democrats will tell you, the popular vote does not win you the election. It's a big thorn in their side and has been for quite a while. It's all about the Electoral College, and that means you got to look state by state by state. You look at the state polls, even some of the battleground polling in some of these states like Pennsylvania and Michigan, they say is head-to-head, it's equal, it's even-Steven. That's not true. An even-Steven poll, as we learned from Mark Mitchell at Rasmussen, means that the Republican is ahead because these polls always favor Democrats by at least 6 points. So if Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are deadlocked in Pennsylvania, Donald Trump is ahead by 5 or 6 percentage points. But what's really damaging, what's really troubling, is in Nevada, you have 2-to-1 Republican early voting. That is unprecedented, and that is something that's going to be very difficult for the Democrats to overcome. You're seeing it in Nevada, you're seeing it in North Carolina, you're seeing it in Georgia. You're seeing it wherever there's early voting. There is a much higher percentage of Republican early voting than ever before. The message has been getting out. The Republican National Committee, Laura Trump, Michael Whatley, Donald Trump, me, everybody that's been telling you this, Scott Pressler, all these folks who are going out and saying, A, register to vote, and then B, bank that vote early, are the message is getting through. And Republicans need to continue to early vote because early voting is how we win. And when we win, we can go back and fix the broken system that we have so that it won't take 13 days for Maricopa County to count their ballots. It won't take days for Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Georgia to bring in their election returns. And really, everybody will be able to do what states like Texas and Florida and Tennessee and a whole bunch of others can do, and that is count their ballots and report their results in one day, Election Day. It's a weird system we're in, but if you want to bring Election Day back to one day, if you want to make these elections truly fair and just and right, if you want to make sure that there is very little room for error or shenanigans or hanky-panky, then you actually have to early vote. Early voting, the thing that we don't like is the thing we have to do so we can get back in power and fix it. I know I sounded like Kamala Harris there. I know there's a lot that has to be done, Anderson, and we haven't done it yet, but we will do it once we win. That's when the doing will get done.
Well, there was a lot that was done, but there's more to do, Anderson. And I'm pointing out things that need to be done that haven't been done but need to be done.
Yeah, that was close. So if you haven't yet voted, please go vote. If you are planning to early vote, definitely keep that plan. And if you're waiting till Election Day, I urge you, no matter where you are, go early vote because Election Day is when all the bad things happen. When the water mains break, when the machines go down, when they run out of ballots, when you get sick. You know, you never know what's going to happen between now and Election Day. You may find yourself in the hospital, God forbid. But you may not be able to. Don't wait. If you are healthy and if you are able and there's early voting in your town, go do it now. Do not wait because it could always become very easily too late. Speaking of early voting, I asked a bunch of people yesterday at Mar-a-Lago. So Mar-a-Lago, we got invited to Mar-a-Lago, and it's amazing. It's my second time this year being invited to an event at Mar-a-Lago, and before that, I'd been invited 0 times. So getting kicked off the radio, getting canceled, and doing my own thing on all these fantastic platforms and creating the Mark Kaye Saves the Republic podcast, it's actually the best thing that's ever happened to my career. So I got to Mar-a-Lago, and it was really interesting because the first time I went to Mar-a-Lago back in March was pre-assassination attempts. In between the time I went to Mar-a-Lago in March for Super Tuesday and the time I went yesterday, there have been not one but 2 assassination attempts that we know of on President Trump, and there's been like 5 assassination teams that have been allowed or that have been fighting and hunting Donald Trump here in the United States. And so what we need to do. Sorry, I just got a text message about The View from my wife. She said Whoopi said we're in trouble. Not us. Them. If they're in trouble, we're doing good. So Mar-a-Lago yesterday. So I get there yesterday, and it was a completely different scenario. They swept my car. They ran my plates. They brought the dog over to see if there were any explosives or other things in the car. I had to pop the hood. They were searching with all kinds of things. There was a 25-minute vetting process before I could even get on property. And then once I got on property, there was security everywhere, Secret Service, police officers. Everybody had bulletproof vests and automatic weapons. There were towers everywhere. It was an intense security procedure. I will say this. I felt very safe, and I felt like Donald Trump himself should also feel fairly safe. And the event itself was amazing. It was a red carpet for the brand new film by James O'Keefe. James O'Keefe was of Project Veritas, and now he's in his own company, OMG. And what James O'Keefe did was he went down to the border, and he went into Mexico, and he started to look at the root of the immigration crisis and all these crimes and all these people coming across the border. And it was very similar in scope, this documentary that he did, to the movie about Tim Ballard, Sound of Freedom. And so we were invited down to this red carpet. We weren't sure who was going to be there. There was a whole list of names. We weren't sure who was going to show up, who wasn't, who was going to be available for interviews, who wasn't. But man, they transformed the entire spa and pool area into a banquet. Like, it was incredible. They had the red carpet set up. We got the red carpet treatment. And when somebody came down, we started to interview him. We talked to James O'Keefe about this film and a bunch of other folks. And I quickly edited a montage of all the big interviews from last night and what happened at Mar-a-Lago. It was a thrilling presentation, and I learned a lot about probably the biggest problem we have now in this country, one of the biggest growing problems, and that is human trafficking coming across the southern border. And again, all of that is because of Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Alejandro Mayorkas, and their desire to allow folks into this country illegally to grow the Democrat base. So it's a couple minutes long, but here we go. This is me live on the red carpet last night at Mar-a-Lago for James O'Keefe and Tucker Carlson Network's brand new film, Line in the Sand. We're at Mar-a-Lago for the premiere of James O'Keefe and Tucker Carlson Network's A Line in the Sand. And in just a minute, they're going to open up the red carpet, and I don't even know who's coming, but we're going to find out together. It's going to be so exciting. Alina Habba's here. She's MAGA's lawyer. How's it feel to be MAGA's lawyer?
It's great. It's quite the journey.
I bet.
Quite the journey, yeah.
Thank you for keeping President Trump out of jail.
Yeah. Well, especially when you have them trying to basically have election interference through lawfare. It's been quite the feat, but I'm honored to be here, and we're doing well. We're winning on all fronts, especially in the polls. So
we have known for a long time, I mean, you know better than anyone, lock him up has been their strategy. And just the other day, Joe Biden in one of his fogs actually said, we got to lock him up. Were you shocked by that at all?
Well, I think it was one of those quiet things you're supposed to say in your head, but not out loud.
Yeah.
And you know, he obviously is not doing well age-wise and mental capability-wise, so I'm not surprised that he did it. I think it's telling. I think it's what I've been saying for the last 3.5 years. They are trying to lock him up. We've had assassination attempts. There isn't anything I put past people these days because our country is so divided and divisive because of the rhetoric of the Democrat Party. So I'm really thrilled to be here, and I'm really thrilled of where we are right now in the campaign. I'm obviously honored to be part of that as well.
Have you early voted yet?
No, my state hasn't started early voting, but once it does, I will. I'm in New Jersey. We're about to start soon.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't matter.
But you have to get out and vote. It is the most critical time, and that is the message that the campaign is really saying right now. We cannot do it unless we're too big to rig. We cannot do it unless everybody gets out to vote.
When Donald Trump goes back to the White House, do you get like a reprieve from the lawsuits for a while? Do you get like a 4-year vacation?
You know, I don't think they'll ever stop, because if it's not Donald Trump, it's his family. If it's not his family, it's his company. If it's not them, it's the lawyers, it's the whoever. You know, it's desperation at its finest. And we'll see what happens, obviously, for November 5th. And I'm ready to see him back at the White House.
Alina Habba, enjoy the movie. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Nice to be here.
I'm here with MMA superstar Tito Ortiz. We have a lot in common. We're both the same age. We both have the same barber. We both love blue suits. You look good.
You too, sir. Thank you.
Thanks so much for being here for the premiere of A Line in the Sand. Now, you are from California, and now you live in Florida. My first question, early voting started in Florida. Have you voted yet?
I will as soon as I get home.
All right.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of work lately, so it's just I haven't had an opportunity to do it. Own my own restaurant in Cape Coral, Florida. We went on a trip just like 3 days ago. Came back tomorrow morning. I'll be with DeSantis doing a radio show. So I'm doing this, that. So tomorrow after the show with DeSantis, I'm going to go vote.
All right, plug the restaurant real quick.
Tito's Cantina, Tequila Bar and Grill in Cape Coral, Florida.
Do you serve Tito's vodka there?
Yes, we do.
Any relation?
Zero relation with. I'm Tito Ortiz, and it's Tito's Cantina, Tequila Bar and Grill, Mexican food, the authentic, best Mexican food that you'll find in Florida.
Now, you have been a big supporter of President Trump for a very long time. You've been a big supporter of Tucker Carlson. You just got interviewed. I saw a big smile. You're like a super fan.
I wouldn't say a super fan. I love this country. I've known Trump since 2000. I was on Celebrity Apprentice with President Trump. When on 2016, I think I was one of the first Latinos that was in California to actually speak up and say I'm part of this, because what this mainstream media has done is painted a picture of a man who is not. And I know the man who he is. And everybody that is here, everybody who supports Donald Trump, they start to understand it more and more and more and more, and I love it.
There are a lot of different groups that are moving away from the Democrat Party. Latino voters are abandoning Kamala Harris and the Democrats. Why is that, do you think?
Because we love faith, family, and freedom. Those are things you love.
We also know women are moving away from Kamala Harris, even though she's a woman. Why do you think that?
Well, voting for somebody based on their sex is ridiculous. We, as conservative women who care about our families, who care about our freedom, we understand how important it is to essentially draw the line in the sand, because if you don't, you're going to lose those things. And having the ability to make choices for our children in schools is so important. Not having them indoctrinated, but also having those family values. The nuclear family is so important, and Kamala doesn't stand for any of those things.
Yeah, Amber, that were very well said. All right, one more real quick question. Let's say I'm walking down the street, I'm going to vote, I got my MAGA hat on, and a bunch of angry liberals come up to me. One move, Tito. What do I do to scare them away?
Put the hat in your back pocket, look at him and go, I'm voting for Trump.
I'm here with Sam Sorbo, Serena from Hercules, the legend. Oh my God, what happened? What did I do? What did I say? Was I not supposed to mention that?
Serena from Hercules. No, that's a blast from the past. I love it.
Okay. Well, Wikipedia doesn't lie.
I played the Golden Hind. That was something, man.
Is that where you met Kevin, or did you met there?
I played a princess. That was my first character on Hercules, and then I came back and I played the Golden Hind.
Yeah, and now you're his queen.
And now, yeah, I'm his. Yes, that's exactly correct. And I just had a birthday, so yes. Oh, happy birthday!
Are you a Scorpio? We're on the cusp. Listen, this movie, you haven't seen the movie yet, or you have?
No, I have not.
Okay, what do you know about it, and what are you most excited about seeing in A Line in the Sand?
I think it's about the border.
Yeah, I think that's a good safe bet.
You know what? Here's what I struggle with. I'm worried about seeing the movie because I know I'm going to see the proof of what I already know, and but I'm excited to see the movie because I think that the movie carries a very important message and will empower me to help spread that message to people who need to know. And folks, we ought to be talking about this stuff. We ought to be talking about it in the grocery line, in the line at the post office, at the DMV, wherever you are, at the doctor's office. Start a conversation with the person who's in the waiting room. They've got nothing else to do. And have this conversation with them and tell them that we need to save this nation.
And it's not just on X. Like Kevin's all over X. He's always tweeting and stuff. But you got to take it out to the people that aren't already converted.
His tweet?
Which one?
Well, the one that I kind of blew up because I didn't leave Hollywood because I was canceled. I left because they're all.
I mean, he was there, right?
He actually, to clarify, I don't think he ever was exposed to any of that, but he was, they asked him about it. He's like, look, it was a joke, right, but the people who are upset about it, they have more to worry about than my tweet.
I'll tell you, there's a lot of Hollywood folks that are leaving California. Mark Wahlberg went to Nevada. You had all the Daily Wire. They went to Nashville. We were just talking about that. And now Mar-a-Lago has kind of become Hollywood East. Do you think that there'll be more projects in the future? Would you be involved with any of them?
Absolutely. So Florida is not a tax rebate state. We're working to try to change that. It's a little bit slow. The politicians seem to fail to understand that it's a net win. They see it as a net loss. But the other states that have implemented the tax savings are doing very well. And I think people are leaving California more for the idea that you can go to a low tax state as opposed to, California just raised the tax rates.
Yeah. Again, to like 70%.
Something like that. It's crazy. It is crazy when you understand what your money's going for.
Sam Sorbo, have you early voted?
I haven't yet, but I'm planning to.
Okay, that seems to be the consensus tonight.
No, I just heard that an early vote saves the party so much money because there's less investment that they have to make to try to get people to try to get you to the polls. So, yeah.
If there's one thing the Republican Party's lacking, it's money. Rick Mayers is the executive producer of A Line in the Sand for Tucker Carlson Network, in conjunction, of course, with James O'Keefe. Rick, tell us why you got involved with this movie and why it's so important right now.
Because I believe in James O'Keefe. That guy's a warrior. He's one to go out here, sacrifice, risk his life for the cause, and I support it 100%. He's committed to exposing truth, regardless of if it's political or not. He's committed to it. He's gone after as many people as he can to expose truth, and that's what I believe in is James and the quality of work that he's done over the years. That's why I invested in him. And it's a great concept, great movie. I think it's going to change the landscape when more people get to see this.
How did you get involved with him? Is this your first movie, or have you backed a bunch of other films?
We met here a few months ago, back in May, when President Trump was here having a small event. He came out, saw James in the crowd, brought him up, gave him a massive bear hug, lifted him up in the air. Only like President Trump can do. I got to talking to James and telling him how much I follow him and I appreciate the work he's done. We became friends, and next thing we know, we're doing a film together.
Now, you got to be careful around him. He's always videotaping. You know that.
Yeah. So speaking of that, Aaron was actually videoing President Trump meeting James, and President Trump sees that, and there's no cameras in this, so he's big on that, and he immediately slap Aaron's hands. No cameras. Aaron dropped the camera on the ground. It's pretty funny.
Oh, so are you going to now, because you're in the oil business and you met here at Mar-a-Lago, so it appears that Mar-a-Lago is not just the political center of the world, but it's Hollywood East. Are you going to do some more projects with Tucker? Are there more projects with James? Are there more projects with other conservative filmmakers?
Yeah, we're hoping so. We're hoping to get at least a 3-movie contract out of this and continue to do. If the numbers continue to improve, that's something that will happen. And yeah, as far as Mar-a-Lago, this is basically the mecca of my life. I met my wife here, got married here.
What?
So Mar-a-Lago means everything to me. If it wasn't for Mar-a-Lago, President Trump, I wouldn't be married to my beautiful wife, and we just found out we're having a kid for the first time. So
this is a great year. Congratulations, Rick. That's amazing. Wife, baby, huge film, all from Mar-a-Lago is really the place where dreams come true.
That's right. Don't forget Alabama football.
Right. Alabama, fun fact, has never lost at Mar-a-Lago.
It definitely never lost. We never lost, period. So I didn't know if we were taking a L or not.
There were a couple games. I don't know. Anyway. I'm here with Tim Ballard, the inspiration for Sound of Freedom. By the way, I think you look a lot better than Jim Caviezel.
I don't think that's true, and neither does my wife, but she still loves me. So
okay,
thank you.
You're right. That was fake news. That was some CNN stuff, right? That was bogus. Anyway, listen, thanks for being here. Now you really kind of were the inspiration for one of these first big conservative, I don't know, kind of like conservative entertainment films. How does it feel to now be part of this new genre?
Well, look, I've been fighting this fight for 20 years, and I was kind of out in front of it because when I worked as a special agent for Homeland Security, when trafficking wasn't even, you couldn't even Google anything about it, right? So I was kind of seeing it for the first time, and we were trying to design plans around how to do it and how to get it done, and ultimately I had to leave Homeland Security because, big cases, big problems, jurisdictional issues, whatever. So as depicted in Sound of Freedom, I got myself kind of deep into a case in Colombia and had to quit my job in order to finish the job. And, working at this problem from it's private public. You need the law enforcement as well. So I'm just so grateful that people like James O'Keefe can do what I can't do, which is to tell the story in a way that he does. And he's willing. Our work is very similar, actually, going undercover so grateful for Line in the Sand. So grateful for the awareness it's going to bring about what's actually going on.
And what you were doing and the problem you were solving and the problem that James shedding light on is the exact same problem. The open border causes all the crimes. In fact, I just saw in the news, like you said, they're talking about human trafficking, not just drugs and not just the gang.
That's right. And I actually think Trump needs to talk more when he talks about the border. He talks about the fentanyl and the gangs. That's important. But the most important part by far is the fact that hundreds of thousands of children are being trafficked across our border, utilizing our agencies like CBP and HHS as child trafficking delivery services. Not saying they're doing it wittingly. They're doing it because they're being mandated to do it. Morale is the lowest it's ever been with those agencies. They're great people, but they have to. They're taking orders from the top, and so this is the number one. This should be the number one thing that the administration that Trump is talking about when he talks about the border. Talk about the children, right? Because that's what he's going to solve. His policies on the border will solve all of it. But the most important of all, and I'm not downplaying the fentanyl and the gangs, but children, I don't think there's anything more important than what's happening to these children, as we see very clearly documented in Line in the Sand. And that's where our focus needs to be.
Yeah, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, but they're trafficking the children. You're right. That seems like it's much more important. Let me ask you this one question, because this is something that also comes up all the time when you're talking about the border, when you're talking about Homeland Security, and that is Alejandro Mayorkas. On a scale of 1 to 10, how does he rank as a Homeland Security director?
Between 1 and 10, I'd say around a negative 100,000.
Yeah. Is this something that he's just really bad at, or is this all premeditated and intentional?
I wish I could say he's just really bad at it. But unfortunately, I have sat personally and testified before Congress on this issue. I testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee in front of Kamala Harris. I know they know that what they are doing with their border policies leaves blood on their hands and the blood of children on their hands. So no, I can't give them the excuse of ignorance. They want 30, 40, 50 more million people coming in because they let them in to get a Democratic vote. And they're doing it by sacrificing children, and they know they're doing it. They understand the problem, and they don't care. They don't care. Politics is more important than children. And this shouldn't even be a political issue. It was never a political issue. I was on the border. I worked under the Bush administration as a special agent undercover operator. Under the Obama administration, everybody was for border enforcement. It was never political until Orange Man came along, and because he said it was an issue, it had to be bad, right? They made it. The other side made it political, and now children are being hurt because of that.
What's next for you? You're going to watch the movie, of course, A Line in the Sand, and then what's your next move?
Well, we are continuing doing operations. We're setting up task forces all around. We're focusing in south of the border so we can rescue the kids pre-deployed before they get here. Education programs, policy changing. I'm testifying before Congress. Ecuador, Colombia. We're building task forces, and we are in pre-production of Sound of Freedom 2. So,
a sequel?
Yeah, and this is the first time I've even told it out loud, but yeah.
Wow.
So
there's a Gladiator 2, Sound of Freedom 2. This is like the best year ever. Tim Ballard, thanks so much, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
I'm here with James O'Keefe, the man behind A Line in the Sand, and my first question, of course, is, are you videotaping me right now?
I got cameras in here.
What's the most number of cameras you've had on your body at one time?
Usually 3 or 4.
Just 3 or 4. And then the audio you get from where?
iPhone, lav mic. Usually it's a phone.
And you know all the laws. Like, for example, in Florida, could you tape me without my knowledge?
As long as I'm in a public place, as long as the door is open in the office, I can't tape you in the privacy of an office, the door is closed, expectation of privacy issues.
All right, so if you're in with your boss and he's about to yell at you, open the door.
Open the door.
Okay, that's great pro advice. Now, let's talk about the movie. A Line in the Sand, you, Tucker Carlson Network, getting together and distributing what I'm hearing is a masterpiece and a very important film, especially with the election. Tell us in 2 sentences or however quickly you can do it, what the movie's about and why you decided to do it.
It's a movie about the border situation, but it's also about human nature and where we draw the line on doing the right thing versus making money off this crisis. And it's a really unique documentary in that it's a very raw and uncensored and unscripted kind of fascinating, immersive experience into the journey these people take. And the journey of the unaccompanied children and the fraud in New York City. I don't think there's anything like it, actually. I think it's very original.
What is it when people go on TCN and they watch the film, what is it that's going to shock them the most about the border crisis? Because it is the number one issue, and people think they know about it, but they don't know everything.
I think seeing the unaccompanied little girls in the desert standing all alone and everyone making money off of them. Everyone. Border Patrol agents, NGOs, churches, and the government's funding it. Our taxpayer dollars are funding all of this. And do we have the will to change that? It's going to require a sacrifice. It's going to require someone being brave. And in the film, you meet that person.
Is there a sense in your mind that anyone in this election other than Donald Trump would consider what you've seen at the border and work to fix the problem?
I mean, you have a vast administrative state. You have a vast apparatus that needs to be defunded and dismantled. I don't know if we have the political will in Washington to do that. Power tends to corrupt, Absolute power corrupts, absolutely. So as long as I've been alive, government gets bigger. Bureaucracies don't shrink. So, but there's a human aspect to this, a human toll. And that's what the film is about.
Do you find it harder and harder to do what you do the more and more famous you get and the more and more you do these videos?
Because most people don't really pay attention to what's going on. If you walk down the street, no one has any idea. And I also think people are forced to be, they're doing immoral things, and unless they change their behavior, I'm going to keep catching them.
What's the next project? Anything yet?
Let me get through this one. And the election's coming, so we're working on the polls, but we got to market this film, make this go mainstream.
A Line in the Sand. It's at TCN. Get yourself a membership. It's probably the first of many great projects from Tucker Carlson and James O'Keefe. Thank you so much. There you go. That movie, Line in the Sand, is available on TCN. You can subscribe to TCN if you haven't already. It's an amazing network. It's run by Tucker Carlson. James O'Keefe put the movie together, and it was conceived the entire concept, as you can see, at Mar-a-Lago. So, and it's really one of these fantastic new films that is entertaining, that is informative, just like this show. It's a documentary, but it is also something that a lot of people are going to be shocked about and surprised from, but also learn a lot and be inspired about, especially when we're this close to the election and we know what these problems are. And it's Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson, James O'Keefe together creating a film. I mean, you're gonna love it. Listen, we appreciate Mar-a-Lago bringing us down here, and we appreciate being able to go on the road, to take Mark Kaye Saves the Republic on the road wherever we can. And being here at Patriot Outpost Whiskey Papa Bravo has been fantastic. We will be back tomorrow with a brand new episode back at Patriot HQ. We're going to have some more special guests, and we're going every single day. We're not Kamala Harris. We're not taking days off. We are Donald Trump, and we are working every day through Election Day. We are doing everything we can, not just here on YouTube and Rumble, and please subscribe if you haven't already, but with the podcast on iTunes and Spotify. We're going out into the field. We're talking to people. We're interviewing people. We're promoting what we need to, and we're reminding you to go out and vote. Vote early because it's working. That's how we win. That's how we defeat Kamala Harris, even though she's doing her best to defeat herself. Make sure that you take some time as soon as, if early voting is open in your state, and it's open in a lot of states right now, go and take advantage of it. If it opens next week, make plans next week to go and early vote. Do not wait for Election Day, because this election is way too important. This is the election where we get to take back our country. This is the election where we get to reinstate Donald Trump as president of the United States. This is the election where we get to save the Republic.